Hello, consciousness architects. I wanted to make a video today exploring one of the opportunities that we have as we move in and through this global pandemic. There's a lot of people who are posing really conflicting information online, and for those of you who are pushing any type of narrative that does not adhere to the mainstream message, a lot of the response that is received is of argumentation, of conflict, of challenge. And a certain amount of this is healthy and definitely necessary for us to maintain integrity in our own perspective, to feel like we have access to as much information as possible so that we can make educated decisions. But another part of this is that people are determined to defend their position if information is presented that challenges their current identity or worldview. And this is a natural and healthy phenomenon, but it gives us an opportunity, regardless of what your beliefs are, of what is happening with COVID, where it came from, what it's for, the government's responses, what's happening under the surface, regardless of what you feel about those things. The opportunity for all of us is to use this as an opportunity to identify the unprocessed traumas, the unprocessed emotions that are present in our system so that we can process those and step into a fuller way of being in the world. And one of the main ways we can do this is through how we respond to conflict or challenge or aggression in the online spheres, because it's the main form of communication that people are employing right now. So a few things to note. The first is that whenever somebody is defending their position with any type of aggressive emotional charge, and this includes you, anytime that an anger emotion is activated, that anger is information. Emotions carry information for us. And whenever we're reacting with a retaliatory energy, it is shining a spotlight on some sort of unresolved wound that we're carrying. Some unresolved scenario that is an aspect of our shadow or our unintegrated experience. When we're able to actually stand firmly in our position, but be open to new information, that is the signpost that you have actually processed the emotions and the programs and the patterns that are inhibiting perception. What do I mean by inhibiting perception? Any type of emotion will create a whole cascade of different psychosomatic responses, different emotional responses, different states of consciousness that limit our access to information outside of that bubble. Whenever we're in a reactionary place, we're in the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight. It is seeking to defend its existence. Its function is survival. So it's not interested in absorbing new information. It's interested in asserting its position at all costs. So the invitation is to check in with yourself. If you are responding to messages or challenge or conflict with any type of aggression, take that as an opportunity to pause, remove yourself from the conversation, and feel the feelings that you're feeling fully. Process your own emotional experiences before engaging in that conversation, and make it a prime directive for you to find aspects of truth in what other people are sharing. This is the avenue to freedom. This is a portal to healthy conversation, so that you don't betray your own sense of truth, but you remain open to receive the different facets of truth within every perspective. There is no such thing as black and white, especially in this kind of scenario. There are countless forces at play, and people's beliefs are built and determined by what is most salient to them, what they are giving the most attention to. That forms itself into a belief system, which then defends itself. Because if that belief system is deconstructed, then your whole sense of reality is just thrown up into the air. It's a place of chaos and confusion where you don't know what to believe anymore. That's a very challenging place to be. And a lot of people are going through that right now, and we need to be sensitive to that. We need to be aware of that in others and in ourselves. So this is the opportunity. to approach any type of conversation, any type of dialogue, exploring these very sensitive ideas of what is happening right now in the world during this global pandemic, to use that as an opportunity to process our own emotional charge, to seek truth within everybody's perspective. And I'll give you an example. Recently, I posted a video with two doctors sharing their perspective on how overblown the COVID response has been and how they strongly encourage reopening different services. Now, I got a lot of different responses from this video and a lot of people providing counter arguments to what those doctors were communicating in their video. And one of the people said that none of the data that they were providing was peer reviewed. And it's important to have that as one of the factors that validates a certain scientific perspective. Now, there's two different options there from my point of view. The one perspective is that the systems, the scientific systems that are responsible for peer-reviewed structures, i.e. mainstream systems, is in itself inherently flawed and biased in a certain direction because a certain narrative is being pushed. But then the other side of things is recognizing that that person was communicating the need for some kind of system to validate information. Now that's a very important thing to implement, regardless of what you believe. Just taking anything at face value can lead to distortion of information and delusion, right? So being able to validate the truthfulness of certain information that's being posed as truth is a very important component of discernment. And so the opportunity there is to choose to focus on the aspects of their argument that I agree with, because they're essential to an order of information, a high quality of information to be available to as many people as possible. That's incredibly important. And not to focus on like breaking down and attacking the inadequacy of the current scientific method that we've been employing, or the systems that are supporting it, the mainstream media and the corporation-owned institutional bodies that create people's perspective of the world. Taking attention away from that and focusing it on the things that I agree with, that this person is communicating. And anytime there's an invitation to engage in an argument, not to take it. You can tell when a person is actually open to engaging in a dialogue and is interested in learning, and they're not interested in learning at all and they just want to assert their position. You will never be able to convince those people of any alternative perspective in that format of dialogue, because that's not their goal. That's not their intention. They don't want to learn. They want to assert their position. And every time you're engaging in that type of behavior, you're doing the same. And you're closing yourself off from tons of information, the reality of other people's experiences, their emotions, what they're going through. And if we are to make it through this in a way that liberates and transforms our culture, our communities, our families, ourselves, the prime directive needs to be gaining more understanding and doing so in a way that actually promotes connection, that promotes understanding, that promotes unity, recognizing that we're all in this together. Your beliefs aren't that important. Truth will reveal itself as time unfolds. And all we're doing is trying to put the pieces together as best we can. Every single person is doing this. Every person is sharing information that they feel to be relevant. And it's important to honor that impulse in every single person and to recognize that we're all in this together. So my invitation for you is to take a step back from any type of conversation that you're in that is argumentative in nature, that's not actually moving towards a point of resolution because the parties are interested in discovering more. Step away from those conversations and process your emotions around them and engage in the conversations that are actually open to dialogue, to discussion, to exploring contrasting or conflicting ideas. And engage in those conversations. Let yourself be challenged. Let your beliefs and perspectives be questioned. When there is an openness on both sides, because that is how we grow as people, that's how we grow in our relationships, and that's how we grow as a society.